We got a bit of a megalomaniac here, Evan.
No, it's just.
Welcome back to White Bread Podcast.
Are we talking about pregnancy
I'm not going to
vibes?
defend
oh my
myself.
God.
I'm not going to defend
my
myself.
God.
Who's pregnant? Who's pregnant? Tell me all about it. Kyla.
Well, hopefully no one in America next year.
Kyla, your gains are low because I'm
What do
seeing
you
my gains.
mean?
I'm
It's
just
the
seeing track
same.
1. That's why. Okay, speak now.
I've been talking. It's pretty fucking equal.
Okay, you're right. Sorry. I'm there. There we go.
I'm also
It was
trying.
just saying audio
all the
1
other
and audio
episodes,
2.
I'm just shouting,
We good,
guys, and I'm
good.
trying not to shout as much as I have been in the previous
Women are allowed to shout.
in South Africa.
Women anywhere are allowed to shout. Kamala can shout. Kamala was being very gentle. Weirdo vibes. America will be okay one day. It's
Oh, you
like,
mean
nigga,
in the speech?
In the concession
Yeah, the
speech.
concession speech. Right, I agree.
It's
I
like
agree. It
it's
was
like, but what
interesting.
you lost. It's not that America didn't decide already. Which America are you talking about? Like, which is the America she's
One
talking
thing
about?
about women is that we're good losers. We know how to lose.
No, she was a bad loser.
Men don't know how to lose.
She ran off crying.
Of course she did.
That's a joke.
It wasn't our situation. It was always going to end in tears for her.
But then why was she competing?
Because she was forced to by the Dems. I mean, I'm
By
not
the
like
courts.
a diehard. Okay, let me just clarify what my position is. I was doing a lot of bits about Trump because I will be completely transparent. I did not think he would win.
That's crazy
The
that she didn't think he'd
2020.
win.
I kept saying, oh, he's going to win. But deep down in my heart, I did not believe it.
You
I
thought there was a
didn't-
black spirit that was going to kick in, a black whammon spirit.
I mean, they did. Okay, it's not just black women and black men voted Dem.
Black women voted them.
And black men.
Black men were like 51.2%.
It wasn't that.
No.
It was like in the 70s.
Yeah,
in the
it was
late
just
70s.
much less than Biden and previous Democrats.
Yeah, but they still came out and voted for Miss Girl. Miss,
I'm glad
I'll
they
arrest
lost
you
dude,
on some weed charges.
because Beyonce lost, Megan Thee Stallion lost,
But I still think
everyone lost.
that framing is like clearly irrelevant.
What, Megan Thee Stallion?
No.
Don't call Megan irrelevant.
The framing of starting to look at it as like a demographic thing. It's because it's not even. It's becoming less and less demographic.
Of course, I mean, objectively and like logically, we understand that. But like the consensus and the popular talking point is like, you know, why don't more black men vote for Kamala Harris? But it's like that it wasn't black people's fault that the Dems lost.
And she's also just not a candidate.
She wasn't, and that's what I was trying to say at the beginning of the pod. It was unfortunate for her because it wasn't a real campaign.
Exactly. And she wasn't afforded the opportunity to really have opinions and,
she
ideas.
was, you know, she was
Yes.
forced to take Biden's
Yeah,
stance on Israel.
on everything. She went on The View and did an interview, and this was, I think, one of her great Achilles' heels in the campaign. And she said, they asked her, "So how are you different from Biden?" And she said, "We exactly the same."
But that's the other thing. It's like
That's crazy.
The
A
Dems,
99-year-old
the
white
Dems
man
lost.
and a black woman.
They lost on Israel and the female rappers, unfortunately. And I want to start off with the female rap thing because it was annoying. It's like that whole demographic and that fan bases already has your votes. Like that's black women, white women, some brown women,
Yeah.
and the gays. They were going to
Also,
always vote for you. So why are you bringing out this extremely educated woman, i.e. Megan Thee Stallion, to twerk?
It makes no sense. It's the same thing. I think what it revealed is that I think a black left is dying, and not the black left as the black people, but like I think the black left as an idea, as an ideological idea in history, in the moment, in time,
Not just in America.
Yeah, not just in America. I think the idea of like a progressive black left has disappeared, has left the room completely.
Was it ever there?
I think it was. I think it was animated
Sure.
at a moment. It might not have been real. It might have still been conceptual.
Yeah.
But I think the black left, so black people with the desire to redress, I don't think exists in the world today.
Because also leftist politics is so like tanky coded and like weird, like blue hair, like piercings, no shade.
But
like,
also there's the concept. I don't know if you guys heard of this, but like the end of history.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes you live long enough to see history fail, and then the politics. So Black Revolution is, for example, a politic that is an impossibility. The
Right.
world has decided its trajectory. It's decided where it's going, and so that as a conceptual basis for like creating politic is impossible. It's like Beyonce is not going to convince me that my blackness is bonded to something truthful. Right,
But
like
also,
something useful instead,
and even
not
if
truthful.
you're using like the performative symbolism of it, like Beyonce was the wrong choice in this current moment. And yeah, I just think I agree with you, but like on a very like superficial kind of campaigning level, yeah, they just made some really silly choices.
But those
and it
choices-
wouldn't have been such a landslide.
But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
like even if you had Billie Eilish saying Black people should have the thing, I think the Black idea, whatever that world is when you conceive of it, is clearly not plausible.
Yeah, but-
Is I've lived long enough to see it live and then die and then live and die
But that's
enough
what I'm saying.
times for me to be like,
we're saying the same thing. Also,
Yeah.
just ultimately, it's like she was like parading these celebrities in front of us, well, in front of the American public, to kind of make a decision. And I think it's been like long past that point.
Yeah.
For me, it was like taking away from the spectacle of celebritydom. Like Trump already represents that. Like, why are you getting rappers on stage?
and also-
like
also-
change the vibe, change the angle.
Also, what was revealing was that I think there's a rap. I can't remember by who. I think it's Andre 3000. All blacks have is sports and entertainment. And it finally revealed the lack in Black life, right? Like the lack in conceptual value, the lack in kind of ideological value that changes the world.
Political perception was really sad.
The political perception. It's
Of
like
blackness in
exactly.
America is
It's
so
like
sad.
blackness is so cheap. Blackness
Yeah.
is twerking on stage. Blackness is Beyonce proclaiming some political
About
program
motherhood.
after never having shown up in any way in that regard. That's the only mechanic Black people had or machinery Black people had to kind of drive their opinion into media, into public space, and it kind of shows the lack in like and I kind of appreciate it. It's like, oh yeah, black people have lost a lot of ground focused on like strange. I was watching the fucking Young Thug trial. It's like Black people waste a lot of time worried about things that aren't necessarily at the core of like your like your existential sense of the world doesn't depend on Young Thug being free. Right, like, but I'm watching it because I've been trained in a particular language or a particular understanding, and that somehow gains importance in my reality. But I think this Kamala thing reveals that the Black politic is embedded in things that actually don't change the world, don't mechanically or politically or socially change the world. Like we go like, oh yeah, Black cultures, we were governing who gets braids or doesn't get braids. It's like,
Do you remember
it's like that's it.
early 2010s, bro? Cultural appropriation.
I'm like, oh, those things don't actually shape the world. And it's interesting to finally arrive at a point where that end is very clear.
But I
That
think
who
that's why
gets
they
braids or
lost.
doesn't get braids.
But
exactly.
that's why they lost, because it's like, okay, all of these things can be important talking points, but for 20 years, surely not.
It's like we're not talking
yeah.
braids anymore,
Surely
Beyonce.
not.
Take a step back. Lay down. Raise your kids.
Lay your head.
And so it was good. And it also had me thinking about it and having read about a little bit like the old Jew and the new Jew, right? And
The ordeal of civility.
Exactly. And these ideas of transforming your existence, right? You sent that tweet in the group about someone saying that if you're thinking about revolutionary action, if you're thinking about change, really, it's a game of dominance, right? So that's how Israel comes to exist. It's like you have to assert yourself on the world, and there is no conceptual idea that you can impress upon the world that's strong enough. There is no amount of music you could create. There is no amount of dances you could create. There is no amount of like performativity you could create on the world to kind of equalize the standings. And that it's economic and social, and it is capital, and we affect the world, yes. Black people affect the milieu, but they don't necessarily affect policy. They don't necessarily affect the living
But
conditions.
that's the violence of neoliberalism, because then you have this like aestheticized version of like this diverse and inclusive world to kind of just put a Band-Aid over it. Sorry for the wind. There's
There's a crazy windstorm outside.
happening in
I
Cape
kind of
Town.
like it. I
It's
like
scary.
this
It's
like
sinister.
spooky vibe.
But
we have
yeah,
going on.
it's just this like kind of immediate Band-Aid that gets like slapped on like a much more festering, gross wound. Sorry for the crazy analogy, but yeah, I mean, and also as being an aging millennial, having been swept up in that space and being
Yeah.
a media maker and riding that wave, it's just, I'm also taking stock, a fearless and moral inventory of my contribution to this, this really confusing, vague space that we're in right now, this murky world.
And that's the thing about I think that's the point exactly. We might have been seeing the death of neoliberalism in a way as an ideological value, not perhaps as a capital value. It's still in the world as a capitalistic value. But ideologically, we might have seen
Cancel culture died on October
Exactly.
7th, 2023.
Exactly. And so we might have been seeing the end of something that has dominated the cultural sphere for so long, that has governed language and understanding and all of those things. What's his name? Hinchcliffe, the comedian that went on.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Tony
Why do I
Hinchcliffe.
know
The Puerto
that?
Rican person.
Yes.
Well, the one who came from
exactly.
Puerto Rico.
But I might argue that he won Trump the election. That there's an arguable point about like the control of language, about identity, about the fear of identity, about making someone. I don't think Trump is as smart as him, as Tony Hinchcliffe, right? And there's something about making culture and ideology
Do you know what it is?
and
It's because
identity
we've-
available in a particular type of
Right.
way.
It's because we've been so self-censored in this
Exactly.
culture to hear someone, even if it goes against all your own like personal beliefs, even if this person's coming for you and everything that like culturally makes you up. It's the honesty
Exactly.
that people are drawn to, even though it's like a vicious lie and it's all constructed.
And it hurts, and
at
it really
face
does hurt,
value,
right? Yeah.
It feels like the most honest thing anyone said on stage that
Exactly.
evening to a Latinx South American person.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, I'm not trying to say we're all the same, but like as so-called colored people, there's no one that hates colored people more than colored people do. So that's why we be voting for the fucking DA every single election cycle and run. And I think there's just like, because of neoliberalism, I think people are just so desperate and hungry for like a semblance or glimmer of truth
Exactly.
that they will like eat shit in order to receive it. And I think I'm aligned with you. I think that was
That
the
was a
crux
big
of it. I
moment,
think
yeah.
there was like a shift in
Yeah,
that
It's
moment.
like an opening address, right? Like as an opening address to what this thing
Then Jennifer
means.
Lopez, Bad Bunny, all these people, blah, 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 Democrat, like that was just made it so much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in Puerto Rico, they have I think it's a non-voting congressional representative.
That's correct.
And that person that got elected was a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so those views weren't new, right? Like and what you're saying, I know you bagged on colored people, but I think no one hates black people more than black people.
No, of course. I'm only speaking about colored people because I'm colored. I'm not
Exactly.
going to say that about y'all.
But I think that's what it is. It's like at some point, and also the politic has become so immature that even I fall into these traps where I go like, but black people aren't criticizing themselves, right? Like they aren't thinking about themselves hard enough. And so as soon as you hear a voice that's like willing, like the opening address of like such a huge moment, he had done one political debate, and then suddenly there's this opening address in a moment that's huge, right? Like this is his final statement, and the first thing is like hyper racist things about Puerto Ricans, about Africans, about all of the things, reaffirming the
A
things Trump is
watermelon
saying.
joke in 2024 is crazy.
Yeah. And it's killing. It's like people are falling on the ground for this watermelon joke. You watch the background of that video and people are like, ah! And and I think it was the thing. It's like in contrast to Beyonce standing on stage and telling you that
Yes.
there's justice looks a type of way.
And that fucking
Tony-
Botox,
exactly.
like her face isn't moving. I'm
ridiculous.
a mother. Like, okay, girl.
Raise your kids. But I think that contrast is actually and even seeing what the Democrats were reading that as like a failure of understanding was their failure of understanding. I also hadn't seen, and I think Elon Musk is an important factor in all of this. I hadn't seen a single Kamala Harris thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not actively searching for Donald
She
Trump.
should have come on White Bread.
Yeah. I'm not seeing a single act. Like I'm not searching for Donald Trump,
Yeah.
but it's all over.
She said no
TikTok-
to Rogan.
The
Which
TikTok
is a
edit.
big mistake.
Yeah,
Big mistake.
Because you know what I was thinking? Rogan was actually a dam. He was like an Obama
Yeah,
bro.
100%.
Didn't he have Bernie on the
Definitely.
show?
Yeah,
did.
he did.
And I think most of Rogan's guests are like liberals. They like sort of liberal
a
ideas.
liberal.
All of
Yeah.
the specialists on his shows are liberals. Most of the entertainment people are like a little bit more
Right-leaning,
right,
or like
and,
Red Pill.
and those
Yeah.
spaces
Yeah.
like
Or like
Joe
sunning their
Rogan-
assholes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan is
What
seen,
an ad. That's media, baby.
in the American culture. Joe Rogan is seen as a neutral idea.
He is hot.
He
Really?
is, and he's killing it. He's holding people in arm bars. And,
Yeah,
and-
he's really good at playing the fool.
yeah,
like,
But
and that's what I
I'm
mean about
sorry,
being
guys.
a neutral
People to
character.
talk.
We're
Yeah.
filmmakers. We know how to get people to work. Joe's really good at his job. She should have gone on the show. Fucking
Yeah.
what was that feminist what podcast did she go on? What was that?
Exactly.
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 No
Yes,
idea.
Daddy. Are you joking?
But
or
that's the
something
thing.
like that.
It's like the talking points of the left have always been to preserve the argument so that the argument isn't challenged.
Yeah.
And I think neoliberalism does that in a sense where it's like it's not a part of the social argument.
Yeah, it is.
And people can go on to Joe Rogan and either be for vaccines or against vaccines or whatever, and there's a conversation that can
Right.
happen.
It's
And I
not even
think-
disagreements. It's just
Yeah.
like
A narrative,
acknowledgement
yeah.
of a different
and
opinion.
also just
It's very
banter,
we need
right?
to kind of
like it's
get
also
back
social
to
banter.
Yeah.
a
Like,
return
Yeah.
to tradition, not to sound like a fucking Republican. I'm joking. But I have been speaking to my sister a lot about this when we started recording the pod last year and like too scared to release certain things. It's just because of millennialism and like self-censoring and stuff, there is no space, and I'm not talking about like centrist politics, but there really is no longer spaces left for people to just sit across from one another and have a conversation and not walking away being like, oh, I've changed my mind and I'm
Yeah.
now, that person's politics has convinced me. But like sometimes it's okay to just like hear what the other person's saying and leave it at that.
and to also
that
not know
doesn't
that it's
happen
total,
anymore.
right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to.
Or we can have another conversation in a week without you being like, oh, you better block Mzor.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
hates black
this
women.
is just
Don't set me up. I
I'm
let that
joking.
view go.
I'm joking.
I've moved on. Black women are dope.
this is just an example of how it's like the side effect of increased division, basically. You know, as it became more politically successful to be more divisive, the politicians became more divisive, right? And that's obviously trickled down into the bases, right? So
Yeah.
people have more opposing opinions, and to some degree, people see politics as life and death. This is
Yeah.
my life. This is my livelihood. If Trump's not in power, the country is going to fall apart. If Kamala's not in power, Trump is going to whatever
There were
do
people
horrific
like
shit.
calling Tyler
it's
Khaled
life
as
and
a
death.
slur
It's life
on
and
X
death.
because she was like, I'm releasing my new visuals at South African Standard Time, 12 a.m. or 12 p.m., whatever. And like all these Americans were like, wrong time, Miss Colored, like not right now. Just because of the Trump election, just because Trump won. And they were like, come and out. I was just like, you're all mad at the wrong people.
And
They were like hysterical. She is literally a South African artist. All American media has told her is that they hate her, even though that doesn't reflect in the album sales.
Yeah.
She is a world global superstar, just blew up in Korea. The Asians love her. South Africans love her. Now she must stop probably like a pre-planned marketing campaign for this video
for
because
this
Trump won.
It's also again another democratic misnomer is that we all exist in the same time.
Absolutely.
Right, like this idea of like a universal idea of how we exist in the world.
The whole time Gaza's being
of a complete-
flattened,
exactly.
American artists are releasing their albums.
Exactly. So this assumption that we all believe the same things, that we all think the same things, that there's a correct mode of being in the world is very like that's exactly what lost them the elections.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to some liberal clip. I think it was probably MSNBC, or no, I think it was New York Times, whatever. One of these very like liberal things, and they said something like that wasn't very presidential. The way that his acceptance speech wasn't presidential because it was like off the cuff and a little bit joking, and he went on a tangent. And I'm like, my dude.
We
Why
lost
they
track
love
of the time
him.
we're in. Yeah,
He is the president of America.
yeah.
That's as presidential as it gets.
But that's why, I mean, fuck. Guys, I'm sorry. If you watch Trump's spitball, if you objectively like remove yourself from the politic of the world, if you look at him and you're consuming him as a work of art, that man is incredible. The comedy, the stage presence, the campiness. He's so camp. He's so fabulous.
He's a performer. I watched
Very presidential. It's so American. It's the most American thing.
It's so
No,
American.
you can't make it up.
It's so
Yeah.
American. You must watch The Apprentice, the new Ali Abbasi film. It is
I used to watch
exceptional.
The Apprentice reality TV
Yeah,
show
yeah.
on my screen with my parents when I was a child.
So this film is called The Apprentice, and it came out like now. It was just
Yeah.
like kind of came out now. It's about like Trump's early years and his relationship with Roy Cohn, who was basically like never admit defeat, always fight back,
Never
deny
apologize,
everything,
yeah.
never apologize.
Now you're the president.
Win.
And he's not wrong.
Yeah. This film is incredible, but it's
Yeah,
like because it's so honest.
It's also bizarre how like
Ruthless.
detached from the culture people were.
And Trump's
It's
in
like
it.
you just had to pick up your phone to know that people aren't worried about the
Guys,
words you
That
say.
is the central argument against the Democrats. They
Yeah.
are detached.
Trump was at that
detached.
restaurant with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes like 3 years ago. He's the president of the United States of America. It's because he be chilling with people like Ye and Nick Fuentes.
Trump freed Kodak Black.
Okay, guys,
It's like what are you talking
Headline
about?
news.
What are
Headline.
you talking about? It's like a done deal. It's like it's been done. It's been over
beautiful.
since It's exactly what the world wants to be as well. It's like this idea of trying to detach yourself from whatever this Trump victory is, or trying to think that there's some greater moral idea that's playing out in
And
the world.
it's-
It's like a joke.
Can I, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
Not-
the fact that he is also a charlatan doesn't seem to make a difference. Yeah.
But okay, to be
Doesn't
fair,
matter.
that's world leaders.
Yes.
But
And
I
just,
think
like,
I think he's less
objectively-
charismatic though. Like he is the
Objectively-
internet. He is the meme.
But that's our culture. What the fuck do you spend most of your day doing? You're
But this is what
looking
I'm
at a
saying.
tiny little screen. We don't live in a society where people read fucking books anymore.
Or when
That's
niggas
just
are
a fact.
listening to fucking Beyonce dancing. It's like Beyonce was nice in 2013. It's like, what are you talking about? You're gonna break.
Your hate is corny with that Illuminati
It's like
mess.
it's over. How detached do you have to be to call Beyonce out on stage? And it must mean you're not on Twitter. You must not be on TikTok. You must not know what the popular opinion might be
Yeah.
on these types of people. It's like it's silly. It's like to me, it's like it's so detached.
Trump's
And those
brilliant.
advisors are not getting fired. Those advisors are getting hired on the next
Well,
big
they
election
must have
campaign.
fun because the Dems aren't winning ever again.
It's never happening again.
I mean, Bernie Sanders made like a statement
luck.
on all of this, and it kind of sounded like he was alluding. He was like, "Okay, I'm fucking done with you people."
yeah.
I mean, he's old. He should be.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Should
about
be done,
to
Jen.
But then he was like,
with
"Watch
all
the
people.
space."
stop posting on X for me.
I agree. It's
like it's
that
over.
flame fizzled out a long time ago.
It's like this.
It's actually Bernie's fault we're here.
I think ideology is also
Disagree.
plain and simple, right? Like
I know you love Bernie, but God,
done.
No, Bernie's done a lot of disappointing
He's
in
cooked.
recent years.
No,
He's cooked.
He's
I
a
used to,
cock.
I used to
He's
I have a
been
Bernie cap. I
negotiating
used to wear my
Israel.
Bernie
He's-
cap
he's a cock.
every day, and now
He's a cock for the
over.
Dems.
but
He
also,
hates
Very
immigrants.
disappointing. That's very
also,
disappointing.
knowing that an ideology is disappearing in the world, right? Like it's so important to also know that your communism, your sense of equality, your sense of whatever these ideologies are, disappear like any other idea in the world.
Well, they evolve, yeah.
Exactly, they evolve into.
And then
other
it's like the
things.
ship of Theseus. At some point, it's not the same thing it started
It's
as.
never been the same
It's
thing.
Professor Pakeng buying Chris Brown tickets.
Exactly, it's Marxism. it's the ANC is Marxism, and so it's okay to also let ideas die and pick up new strategy and start to think about the world again.
But that's why
I
the
feel like we're
Republicans
stuck.
won. Because
Exactly.
they were very futuristic
Yeah.
in their approach. And I mean, to be fair, okay, so you brought up Elon Musk as somebody that's important, and I'm completely aligned. I always observed him as just a fucking clown with too much money, but I think that that's an incorrect read of the situation. I don't think he's this incredible mind of our time or this grand savant. But I think he's a lot more intelligent than people who don't take him seriously
Exactly.
think he is.
I think he's very, very good at disassociating, or he's become very good at disassociating his own personality and his public personality.
Yeah.
I don't
and he's
think he
developed
has
a
a
public-
personal personality.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very possible. Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think that he considers himself to be this very interesting, special individual.
And it would be hard to argue again. It's like
Well, he's created
from our moral basis,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, that's not the most interesting
Yes.
person because interesting people read books and they think,
But it's not
and they
rooted in
say
morals.
sincere things. But exactly that this is a market based reality.
Exactly. It's a system.
In the
This is the
market,
system that
he
he's
is
in.
one of the most interesting, most competent, most successful ideas
And
that
he's
have come
very
out of it.
consistent. And like in one of our old unreleased episodes, it's just part of my narrative now is like committing to the bit. A lot of people are inconsistent these days. They flip floppers. Elon's pretty like, I'm gonna do this, and then
I'm
he
gonna
does
commit.
it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that he's like a
But it's
like
also
evil,
it's also
but-
not just Elon. It's like what you see on your social
Yeah.
media every day.
And
it's,
X is banging
we
at the
have
moment.
shame, but someone is willing to sit on their phone and think through the world, and they'll get the millions of dollars. And that's what the world is. It's like the market-based economy has absolutely dominated the day. And part of the failure of liberalism is that it never considers the material conditions on the ground.
Yep.
It's always
Exactly.
speculating
And this is
about
what we were
ivory
saying.
tower, 'cause
This
then
is
the
what we
ivory
were
tower.
saying about on our election episode.
Exactly.
Which is like, I feel like, yes, okay, we're in this neoliberal hellscape. You guys are this fucking fake left / centrist, actually more right conservative coded. Like, and I'm talking about the Dems, I'm talking about the ANC here. And it's just like, for me, I think there would be a semblance of some form of like saving the construct or the concept of these like left-leaning
Yeah.
political leaders if there was like a shred of honesty. But there never is. And that's why some fucked up, stupid comedian can come make crazy racist jokes and everyone's like, yeah, inject it.
Yeah.
Fucking A, yeah.
Honesty is self-defeating, and there's no consequences for lying. So why would you tell the truth?
Exactly.
But they don't even perform the honesty.
Not
And that's what
anymore.
I'm saying.
Not
The
anymore.
Republicans get that right because they're like, we're going to say whatever we want. But the Dems aren't even performing a version of accountability. They could have made their little deals and their signings behind the doors, and Kamala could have been like, I'm completely on the opposite end of Biden's position on Israel
Exactly.
and dealt with it after
Yep.
the presidency.
They're out of touch.
They're absolutely
Idiots.
out of touch. And so that's why I'm like, I don't even read Republicans on a moral level.
You can't. They're
they,
just smarter.
they are reading the
Joking.
world as it's happening.
They're-
They are
they're
detached-
commercial
and
At least the
directors.
wielders of power are. Yes.
Exactly.
Not necessarily
They-
the puppets or the
No,
faces.
exactly. So they're
But
absolutely.
they're having
they-
a good week.
Yeah, they're
Like, very
detached
much so.
enough to be able to be like, oh yeah, tech people will change
it.
the world,
Yeah.
right? Like they
Elon
are
will fix it.
exactly. They are detached enough to let it go, to not be so moralistic, to not be so virtuous about what's happening in the world. And I think
Because that's what's self-cannibalizing about the left. Like you
Exactly.
can't, there's no
you can't
kind of-
moralize what isn't moral.
Exactly.
It's
So
impossible.
Just fuck my foot. Just go ahead.
Say what you mean.
Or stop pretending like you're a good or just person. You're like, I want to serve the American / South African people.
Say no, there's business interests, and
Sorry.
we're gonna get our
This
best
is
people
why
here to.
the kids are dying
the
from
poor.
the spaza shop.
But yeah,
have you been reading
I
about
have
it?
been reading
Fuck,
about
dude.
it. I'm saying swallow the poor. If that's your politics,
Yeah.
swallow the poor for real, right? Like don't waste my
Then
time.
you'll get the neoliberal middle class vote, 100%.
Because we don't believe the other thing. The other thing is not true. Swallow the poor, eat them alive, and say you're eating them alive,
And give
then
us
let's-
healthcare.
Yeah, and let's deal with that, right? Like let's deal with something that's true, that's happening in front of us. But I think this idea of like this pretense of care, of love, of
I mean,
it's
there
bizarre
are
to me.
genuine
It's like-
individuals that, you know, like Cornel West, who like I believe him when he says that, but he's not actually a politician.
Yeah.
he
you
ran
know.
as an independent. How did he?
Yeah,
but
but he's
I-
not even a
it is
politician. I think
non-existent
he
in that
always
ballot.
knew from the
Rashida
very
Tlaib
beginning that
got
there
a
was a
seat in-
0% chance.
She
Yeah.
got a seat in Congress.
She did, and Ilhan
Shout
Omar.
out. That's
and
my
I'll
girl.
also make the argument
Yeah.
of even a Cornel West being an Americanized
His
version
surname
of
is
a
West.
neoliberal idea.
His surname is West.
I
Let's
watched
start there.
I watched this colloquium, and there was a South African professor that was doing a colloquium in thing, and the South African professor was essentially talking about like changing education in South Africa, right? Like completely overhauling it, decolonization, and Cornel
Not the
West.
Bella bill.
No, not the Bella
That's
Bill.
another story.
So Cornel West stands up and says, "Well, we live with other people. You can't change everything. It's about compromises, brother," is what he says.
Please.
And then the South African academic goes, "Well, I'm the majority where I'm from.
Oh,
I get to decide a reality. I don't get to co-opt and live inside of a reality."
I feel-
And I feel like that's the fundamental crisis of
Wow.
being Black and American.
Black Americans
Right,
are in
like- like
crisis.
inescapable.
Guys, they're in
What
crisis.
an insight.
They're in crisis. I look at the reaction to Tyler, a young brown woman off the continent, just talent and a star. Even their reaction to their own beautiful star, Halle Bailey.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the Black American reaction to her because she got pregnant with that fucking influencer's baby,
Yes,
that
yes,
YouTuber's
yes.
baby. But these are still young people with money who have this young family. And like people are really turning on her. And this is like a young, talented, beautiful woman. And during like this election crisis, and I understand it's celebrity, it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
it's just like there's something really interesting that's where the anger gets directed. And I referenced it in like an older episode. We were talking about Miss Universe, Miss South
Yeah.
Africa. Like pretty girls are going through it at the moment. Like
But-
the
but-
world is so ugly. It's like when you look at us, it's like you get mad.
But
'Cause I'm
also
so
the
pretty.
structure of authority is that, right? Like American Black voices are the authority for Black people, and so
And
as
people
soon
are
as,
not
as soon as
agreeing
you
to that.
assume a structural position
Yeah.
that is about dominance and like an understanding beyond what's happening around you, I think you assume the same position as whiteness. You assume the same position.
Do you think
that
if,
kind of fail.
if Kamala had been like demure, she would have done better?
100%.
I agree.
If
She
Kamala,
needed
if
the
Kamala says
demure
she doesn't know
approach.
what she
She is
doesn't
who
know,
she is.
I think we're in a better place.
She is demure. She was putting on this front. It was like Obama-esque, like preacher from the South.
It's like it's
Type-
weird, dude.
It was strange. Amazing
I mean,
silk presses,
but
though.
that's
the
the
hair
thing,
was
though.
always
It's
laid,
the-
girlies.
I mean, to kid
Tiny.
yourself that people can't read that as well, that people can't read the insincerity.
I feel bad for
It's
her.
like, how can, yeah, I mean,
How
she's-
can you not read
But
the
she
insincerity?
does
She's
seek
insincere.
power.
Yeah, she's
She
a
does
bad
seek
guy.
power.
And this is what I mean about the
But that's
crisis
my
of being
identity
Black and
politic
American.
kicking in.
Exactly.
Me feeling bad for her.
I'm like, it's
She's
just
like me for real.
It's the cost of being American and Black, right? Like that's the cost. She is the cost of being American and
Yeah,
Black.
and
And there are
that's
certain
sad.
figures that speak about this in great detail. Like Fred Moten speaks about this, that I am actually at a disadvantage by being in the position of being American and Black. It's like then I cannot think about Blackness in its completeness. I cannot think about oppression in its completeness. I can think about participation in its completeness. right? But I cannot enter the world without thinking about participation, because what am I if not something that's participating in the thing that's killing me, right? It's like, what am I
And
otherwise?
that's why they get so fucked around elections. It's
Yeah.
really sad.
Yeah.
When it's actually like the more like local, like 2-year elections that have more impact on like your community and around you. And it's like,
they shine.
yeah. But it's like, yeah, it's also this very normie I don't want to sound like a dick, but like this anti-intellectual response to the voting system, which is like every 4 years somebody's going to be able to fix this shit. When has that ever happened?
But that's what I mean about participation.
Yeah.
It's like you can only enter the world through participating in the thing that kills you.
Right.
There is no entry point for Black Americans or being Black in that setting.
It's all a massive sublimation.
that why they hate
That's what it
Tyler?
is, dude.
Exactly.
It's all.
Is that why they hate Tyler?
That's absolutely why they hate Tyler.
I'm gonna cry. That just broke my heart so
but
bad.
that's why they can't even think beyond it. That
Yeah.
identity can form in a complex way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, man, why are we stuck on this person being colored? This person's colored, dog.
I wish you all could see your Zoe's face.
It's like this is the dumbest argument we're having, and we're having it like it's a sincere one.
And daily.
But generally across the board, like we'll have a conversation with Black Americans about corruption, right? Like they don't live in America. Like
That New York mayor, what was his name?
Yeah.
What's
Eric
his name?
Adams.
Yeah.
Like they're not subordinate
That
to
was a
some sort of
that was a
culturally
terrible
corrupt
symbol.
identity that creates them. And so when they think of Africa, they think of a world outside of this thing that has formed and constructed and made meaning and value. Anything outside of that has to fight, and to enter the Black American consciousness. I have to fight to enter that consciousness.
Do you think you're an uppity African?
100%?
I'm definitely an uppity African. I'm
100
not going to fight. Are you joking?
But I think I can enter in the same way as you can enter.
Yeah.
I can enter the strife of being Black way easier. Right, like because I'm connected to
Look
it,
at you all.
because that's my family. That's not like I don't even need to imagine
Yeah.
that. So even as I ascend, the
Into uppity
capitalistic,
Africanness.
exactly, uppity Africanness, I get to also read something, and I think the difference is that internal network, right? Like that
and
internal
this is
social network.
Like as a colored woman, my observation of Tyler, like this assumption that like this level of self-confidence and inner light
Should not be accessible to
also
her.
comes from a place of ego, and because like, oh, she thinks she's better. I can tell you for free that child was raised in a home where her father did everything for her mother.
Exactly.
He adored the woman in his life. And I think that's such a shock to like the rest of the world to also just see a young woman just be happy and free and okay with like men
Exactly.
holding heavier things for her. Like, oh, sorry, it's heavy. Can you hold it for me, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's fine to be like why is that an issue? And
Because it's a missing identity,
that's what I'm
right?
saying.
In
And
the
like
sense
I've
of America.
seen like colored love that looks like that to me. Like she grew up in that environment, and that's why she holds herself the way she does.
And so that's absent. If you look around the world, that is an absent Black idea.
Oh, stop.
It's like you're supposed to die and struggle and be heavy. And
can't be,
even when people were arguing about Nasty C, right, and his accent and whatever, I was kind of like, well, he's been allotted that. Like that's a space that's been allotted. His identity, he gets to choose
What he wants
that
to
he
be.
wants to sound like Lil Wayne, and
he's good.
that's
Sorry.
who he gets
He's
to
a good
be,
rapper.
right? Yeah, that's who he gets to be because of a spatial understanding of like identity that
But that's
spans
also part,
the world.
but also part of the, and I don't want to call it colonization, but there is like this pop cultural monster that America created that infected the rest of the world. So it's like, that's why the cultural appropriation conversation kind of just fizzled out.
Yeah.
Because it is about like what has been enforced upon us by this empire.
And
Like-
I also think about it as like it's not a third space. It is my culture.
Yes.
Literally,
Yes.
I
It is.
own it.
I've only grown up
Yeah.
listening
In
to Lil
American
Wayne. It's like, what are you
culture.
talking
Thank
about?
you.
It's like, who else was on the radio? If you played someone else on the radio, I'd have another culture, but I don't. This is my culture. I was
Wake it
watching
up.
MTV. I was watching Orange County. I was watching
wasn't
The
watching
Hills.
that.
I was watching, but I'm just
I'm
saying
joking,
that
I'm joking.
these are our
goes
things.
on and on and on, yeah.
And so you can't sift through yourself and pick the parts that are like, it's like what is culture? Culture is what
Yeah.
produces
How
you,
American
and that
are
produced
you?
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that produced me. It didn't happen to me. It happened to my parents.
Yeah.
It didn't happen to me. It
Yeah.
actually produced me.
Yes.
It made me.
Yes.
Right? Like it made me who I am. And so
If you
it's like
listen to these like young toddlers talk with these hybrid like accents,
Yeah.
the UK, American, South African hybrid, it's
that's who
cute,
they are.
but it's scary.
That's who
It's
they are.
weird.
Though. It's strange,
The
but that's who
Peppa
they
Pig
are.
accent.
You know, like South African
Yeah.
drill rappers rapping in British accents,
Yeah.
or that's who they are.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not. They're not
Cultural
fabricating
appropriation
anything.
really did fizzle out. Is neoliberalism over?
You said last week to me. You said culture is to be shared. And so that's what's happening. Culture is to be shared.
It is.
The Greek made mathematics off of the Egyptians.
Thank
the
you. The
Egyptians made it
Arabs,
off
so
of
many-
the Arabs and the Botswana and so who
Black
cares?
people literally
I think the
built
point is who
America,
cares?
like-
Yeah, it's like who gives a fuck who made what, dude? Who's tagging? Who's spitting on what? Right?
Do you
like
know
who's
what I
saying
also
this is the thing?
think? Like that I just want to maybe caution to the listeners, the 40 of you that listen to the show, is like it's okay to also witness a world event happening in front of us and speak to our friends, our partners, call your mom about it sometimes. It doesn't have to be this immediate outpouring of severe emotion
Yes.
I'm so
and
sad.
vitriol. There needs to be a space to process uncomfortable negative feelings and then also a space for hope and not this immediate reaction
Yeah.
to things. The world is moving too fast.
Yes.
And we're normies. We can control the pace. We can dictate what that is.
Yeah.
Like, don't go drag Tyler on X.
Don't
Call
be
your
scared.
therapist.
Yeah. Don't be scared.
I know Trump just won, but like, block her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, block it.
Get off
rid
the
of her.
fucking internet.
Yeah.
Take a Zanny. Have a nap.
And when
Yeah, like, dude, I don't
think
know.
a lot of people are obviously in some type of shock, and I think when you're in shock, you go into some sort of like there's different chemicals in your body.
Sure, but
and
like-
then but hold on, and then you the emotional reaction that you are talking about
Yeah.
starts to entrench new behaviors, and those behaviors become habits.
Insane.
Yeah.
And we're in a world of chaos. It's like, I think a good analogy, it's like if you were to like live stream somebody's wake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like, we're processing it with my Instagram followers today. Okay. This person that I love dearly just died. And I haven't even had like 5 minutes to consider what that means in my life, but we're going to share.
And to be fair,
And it's Trump's fault because of reality. You know, I'm joking.
but I'm also disinterested in shock at the world. Like at this point, I'm like, what will shock you? What's so scary about what's happening here? What's so new? What's so
But
novel?
that's the thing. That's a rational way to observe it versus like seeing somebody's Instagram post that is going to be an American ban on birth control, like a full countrywide
Yeah.
ban.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's just like, let's just have a pause.
Have a reasonable
But it's
conversation
Just have
about
a
this.
little take a breath, and then we can get back into research and really find out like how you
What's
can
gonna happen,
mitigate.
yeah.
You know,
But the imagined future is scary for people, even though it's only imagined right now.
well, yeah, because all we've seen for the last 2 years are Gaza being blown up, those fucking mines with like Sudanese and Congolese children,
Digging up
COVID,
cobalt.
you know, vaccines, anti-vaccines. You know, it's like there is very little imagination left. That's what I'm saying. There's too much immediate connection to this like digital connection,
I totally agree.
which should be an actual like face-to-face or like a humanity-based thing. And I think also a big part of like being an aging millennial and millennial culture is like creating work in this vacuum as like a response to this like culture where it's like we need to present our identity and we're mad and we need to express our trauma, and it's left this like really gaping hole of like a lack of things that you can gravitate towards that make you feel good. And I think that's why popular culture has also like exploded in such a gross way. And like, no shade to like the pop girls, but like, you know, how can we have Sabrina Carpenter, Olivia Rodrigo, like all these like exactly sounding same artists, and Taylor Swift is still like
the girl.
It just doesn't make sense. It's just like this vacuum of like artistic expression, and people are hungry for that, and that's why these pop stars are so like popular.
And also it presents itself as historical. The thing that you were saying about like people are researching and they'll present these ideas to you, but if it was really historical, it would understand that nothing is novel, that this all of this is cyclical, and that you just happen to be, and I think millennials are shocked out of that time.
Extremely, because they're individualistic. They thought they were all going to be Trump.
They thought the world was going to change at their whim, and I just feel like, oh, this is cyclical. You just exist now in a time of war, right? Like whether it's ideological war, whether it's actual
World War
physical war,
III.
you literally exist in a time that many people have existed in throughout time, and you have to learn to deal with it.
Well, that's the end of history again.
Exactly.
But
Very
I do
dangerous.
think, I feel like there would be a little bit more joy, a level of joy, if our coping mechanisms and our tools were like slightly shifted. Like I do think that there's something that adds to the pessimism of the end of history, or whatever this phrase you guys are using.
It's actually meant to be a positive thing.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like
It's very
it feels less hopeful now because of this
because you can
online-
foreclose now, right?
Yeah.
Like I can foreclose on many ideas.
Exactly.
Yes.
When
and
people are
that's-
like, "Oh yeah, black people,"
very
I'm like, "I've
dangerous
foreclosed."
idea.
I'm
Very
done
dangerous
with that.
idea.
I've tucked that away. I don't need another public holiday. I don't need. I'm fine.
I've actually forgot.
whatever.
Like I don't even follow public holidays.
But that's what I
anymore,
mean.
yeah.
It's like I foreclosed on certain parts of these loops, and I used to think I'm becoming a little I guess disarticulate in these things, right? Where I assume, like I'll be speaking to a younger person, where I assume the conversation's already been had, and then I had a Instagram, like people were talking about xenophobia this past week, and I was just kind of like, well, stop talking about xenophobia like it's South African. It's not
especially
ours.
after
It's not a gene.
Puerto Rico joke.
I'm like, it's not a South African gene. It's not some unique thing to us. But then as they started talking, I was like, boo. I'm gonna ignore this conversation because the conversation's foreclosed. It's like even this assumption that this is some unique happening to me feels like, oh, haven't we wrapped this up
It's just so
already?
above it all, I'm so-
And then I'd feel like, oh, am I disarticulating myself from continuing an argument that could create more complexity? But I'm realizing there is no more complexity.
I disagree.
That there's a redundance,
okay.
There's a redundance even if you were to argue me to the end of the thing.
Yeah.
That there's a redundance, that the final conversation is that colonialism happened. I don't know what to tell you, dude. We hate other Africans, and if so it's like I don't know what to tell you. That the argument is complete.
Yeah.
And that even if you were to present to me nuanced ideas about how South African xenophobia is unique, I'm like, but colonialism happened. Yeah, and that foreclosure is almost like it ends the conversation. And I think that is what the end of history is that the interpersonal conversations about what happened to us do not matter.
So the podcast is over.
Exactly. It's happened already. It's happened to you. It's done, dude. It's wrapped. It's like
We'll just keep repeating ourselves.
Exactly.
But I hear exactly what you're saying, and I'm not in complete disagreement with you, but I do think because of the frequency and the redundancy of these like talking points that social media has created.
Exactly.
In the day-to-day, it becomes really frustrating and weird. But I'm sorry, we have lots of conversations about xenophobia, and they're different every single time.
But then allow me to be funny, allow me to be hurtful, allow me to...
I mean, I do.
If you want to enter through other neural pathways, then let's really do it.
So the podcast is not over.
The podcast's not over. As long as the podcast can hurt feelings and that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think the directed conversation about what we must mean morally or what our bodies mean morally here is a joke to me.
Because it's also comes
decided.
from the fucking institution every time. Like, I don't know, like, okay, so I'll speak about it from like a so-called colored lens, right? Up until people started telling me about this hypersexualization that men put on me, I was subconsciously aware of it, but it's not something that, you know, I'll be like, oh, we're just talking, like, let's talk about the condition of how brown women, so-called colored women in South Africa are sexualized. And it just becomes like really weird and like picking at the wound and like picking and then re-scarring it and like reopening it instead of having kind of engagements with interesting people. You're face to face, so you can't be just talking some wild shit.
Yeah.
And like you say, if you say this hurtful joke, you have to see the
Then we have
person's
to deal with
reaction
each other.
to it.
Yeah,
exactly. So I just think that, it became like the internet started off like really like a free for all, and that was the most fun. Like when Facebook just started and there were no rules, just as MySpace was like falling out. Like I remember posting shit from like rotten.com to what like Facebook has become now, and all the kind of, you know, like gowns it's put on and whatever. I just think it's become such a reductive, performative thing, and that's how it's bled into real lives, so that like we can't even have, I mean, you and I are exceptional and we're different, but it's like engaging with other people, it's like hard to engage with them because you're engaging without your social media mask up, but their social media mask is up, and that kind of intersects, and you can't separate it
It's
really
like it
anymore.
means nothing. The
And that's why it's
conversations
hard
mean
to have a
nothing.
conversation. It's like, dog, you literally just read that tweet on X and now you're regurgitating
telling
it back
me.
to me.
Exactly.
And now I must have a fucking conversation with you.
It's like it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. And so I live in that space. So I'm like, dog, the conversations have been had. I don't know where you've been, but like I can't rehash this with you. It's like it's that's it. And I think there's a level of grace. I think a teacher can do that, or someone that's willing to do that, right? We'll do that. We'll lead you through those thoughts and kind of work through them with you again and work. But I think the majority of us are kind of like, I was.
That's how I
here
feel
when
about my
was-
stalker.
Yeah, it was traumatizing.
Do you guys
I
know
don't
I
want
have
to
a
get
stalker?
back.
No.
But
Still.
that's how I feel about him.
Right now, you have a stalker.
Yeah, like I'm not going to teach you how to be a person. I will
It's
call
fine,
the police.
dude. Yeah. And that's what I feel. Call the police on these people, dude. Call the fucking police. And I don't feel like a re-education is necessary because I'm like,
We've all
can
been
you-
here.
Yeah, have you not felt what's happening to you? What are
do
you
you
talking
think
about?
the cause of that is? Do you think it's just like a lack of nuance, lack of ability to
It's
engage
a
in a
lack
nuanced
of
way?
commitment to anything.
No, but what you were saying about institution, right? Like a repetitive knowledge system
Yeah,
that
it's
people just glean from.
non-committal.
So a non-expense
And it's Chat
expansive.
GPT-4.
Yeah.
I'm so scared for people's brains, honey.
But I'm just like a non-expansive body of knowledge. It's gonna do that. It's gonna make me feel like, but I've had this conversation before. What are we talking about? And I can have it too many times, and I can read it on the internet, and I can read your tweet about it. But I'm like, what makes knowledge expansive, right? Is it's experiential. Right, like I have to interact. The only thing
It's
that moves,
human based.
yeah,
It's
the only thing that
human-based.
moves knowledge is experience, and so I'm disinterested in a theoretical basis. And I think it's not just me being disinterested. I think the theoretical basis that education is based on is starting to fail and collapse.
Yes.
Right,
And they're replacing it
you
with
can't-
AI, which
Yeah,
is making it exceptionally, like exponentially worse than actually having no.
Like you can't theorize my
Framework.
body. It's like what I felt today is what I felt today. If I saw a transfer, I was like, ooh. That's what I felt in that moment.
Okay.
No, I
No,
didn't
I'm
feel that
joking.
way. I didn't have that experience, but I'm just saying that people have those
I thought you were
experiences.
saying you got horny.
No, I didn't get horny. Stop
Sorry.
it. But
was
what
an
people feel,
ambiguous sound.
it was a little bit. It could go anywhere. That's good. That was like
That's
a
what
good.
I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
welcome to the White Bread Podcast. Exactly.
But that type of thing can't be taught in a class. What you felt can't be taught in a class, and I think the internet has absolutely like exacerbated this idea of like your feelings are facts.
Valid.
Feelings are facts, and so people don't
Come on,
feel,
Jordan Peterson.
You know what I mean?
Feelings are literally the reason that Trump got
won.
elected.
Exactly, and so education can't mitigate that relationship between your feelings and what is factual, quote unquote.
Which was my problem in our elections when I saw that EFF did so shockingly. Like, it was really a neoliberal rude awakening for me.
It's like, what a joke that we believe the land was coming. What a clown show! What an absolute like 10-year clown show! What a misunderstanding of what the material conditions were. Again, what
We
an
gotta change the
absolute.
podcast to the material conditions on the ground.
But what a gross misunderstanding of what was happening.
I'll admit.
I
I'll take my
misunderstood. Yeah, I absolutely misunderstood what was happening to me. Like I absolutely like foreclosed on things that were super important. That I'm like, oh no, but there's capital here, and there's a driving idea, and there's counter-revolutionary ideas, and there's all of
And
these
there's
other
Vusi,
things. There's
Vusi.
Vusi.
Yeah.
There's all of these things that, and I don't even need to think as far as Vusi. I can say there's a Tabombegi. I can say. What
is
was
the
I
danger
thinking
of
to think you were
hoping.
gonna get the land back?
Yeah.
I was joking.
Yeah, this is. I mean, a lot of the most intelligent people I engage with are like, hope is one of the most destructive ideas.
Dude.
Yeah.
Okay,
What a
not too
joke.
much on hope.
No. I'm not
hope,
anti-hope.
Hope and faith aren't the same. So you might
I'm
have
not
faith. You
anti-hope.
don't have hope.
I'm just saying that when it's used to sublimate a potential
What is happening,
actual
right? Yeah.
material change, then it's like a very easy way to put a nice package on a really ugly, nasty president.
I guess you
might
guys, this
argue-
is like, I have the same theory around being nice versus being kind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've worked really hard over the last few years to become a kind person and moving very far away from being a nice person. So I understand.
But I also think
Give me hope, Joanna.
What's it? Hope,
Hope,
Joanna.
Joanna.
Give me
Guys, you
hope.
can't afford it from
can't
that's
afford
as
the
many
track.
bars as
Come
you
on,
got.
Evan.
But I think that's also
Capital.
the failure of black consciousness, of black critical thought, of black the projection into the world is hope. Right? I was talking about the thing about like the new Jew and the old Jew is that it hopes for nothing. That the new Jew goes, kill me, I kill you. and there's something finite about that equation on the planet today, or at any point actually.
That shit in Amsterdam was crazy.
Exactly. But
That
that's what I'm
was
saying.
crazy.
What happened?
I got my heart beating.
What happened in Amsterdam?
Oh, don't make me say it. So there was some fucking football match. You guys know I'm a football girl nowadays, but I had nothing to do with
Respect.
it. Okay. And there was some match in Amsterdam with these Israeli football hooligans who, like, after the match, they were going home to the hotels, hostels, whatever, and they were like chanting some crazy anti-Palestinian shit. I'm not gonna say it. They pulled down like a Palestinian flag, and there was like evidence of it. And then I don't know if it was that night or the following night, but one of these hooligans or a group of them basically stopped this Arabic kind of taxi driver and like fucked his car up and beat him up. And so all the taxi drivers, it's quite like a heavy Muslim area, I believe, that these guys came and tried to start trouble. So they all just started beating their asses back, taking their passports, like, show me where you're from.
And I can't help but feel justice playing out in that, right? Like, and that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's like this conceptual idea of the world changing, or people agreeing with you, or
And I couldn't tell who
political
the
agreement
Israeli and
troubles
who
you.
the Arab was.
Exactly.
That was what was
Of course,
crazy
it's
about
Cain
the
and Abel, they're
videos.
brothers.
Exactly.
They are brothers.
Exactly. Who's who, right? Like that's the thing. It's like who's who at any moment. Who's the terrorist? Who is the hero?
Who's the pretty girl from
Who's
Joburg?
the victim?
Exactly. At any given moment, who's the victim? And I think I'm starting to understand that. I think education and coming out of the Enlightenment period and all of that.
I'm so glad to be over
There's
that.
been tricks, right? Like these have all been tricks. These have all been language tricks about what is of God's word, of what is of
The
our
academic
word.
word.
What is scientific
What's
fact?
scientific fact? Who creates scientific fact? And I think it's
Come on,
suddenly
RFK.
starting to
No,
fucking
no.
crumble. Dude.
Not endorsed by the White
Yeah,
Bread
not
podcast.
endorsed at
Maybe by
all.
Kyla though. Big
No,
up.
I'm saying because you guys were talking about based in science. I was doing a little bit.
A
Fuck
bit,
RFK.
sorry.
Do you know how scary that guy is when he starts talking? You guys are imposing shit on me that I do not like. It's like there's a pretty girl. Let's hate on her.
Pretty girls are in trouble, dude. I think the best thing you can be is pretty at a time like this.
Sam.
I think you're better off. It's better.
People can get mad looking at me, but I got a man. I'm fine. Like I'm in South Africa. It's actually the best place to be in World War III. So the goals are up. I know we
They're
had like
very
an
up.
episode like a month ago hating on
Well,
South
we
Africa.
thought they were down. We thought
it
the
must
girls were
suck
down.
so bad to not be South African. It must suck so bad. I'm so sorry for you guys.
Yeah, thank God for this
Our
experiment.
constitution,
I'm part of.
that girl, that girl. Shout out to the constitution.
Big up.
Can I say if the ANC on the pod?
No,
hey,
no,
can
no,
we,
no, 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 no.
We need to
no,
meet
no,
that
no,
up.
no, no. We love the ANC.
Stop.
Do we not?
I don't know if we love any political part. It's a joke. You spent this whole episode talking about it doesn't matter. Like, do we love the ANC?
We could love the ANC.
Wow.
If depends on
What
who
is
comes
more,
on the
what is more
show.
controversial to say?
Re-trauma.
But okay, so I do think we need to get a political guest on the next episode. So Evan, you need to sort that out.
On it, boss.
Yeah, I would love to get a smarter person than me and you and Evan on this.
You should have just said than me. That's what you meant to say. You don't need to
Nah.
feel bad.
I don't feel bad at all.
You know
There
I'm
was
smart.
there was a pause there. I did hear that pause. That's okay. Let me not involve myself in this conversation.
Come on.
You guys get on.
I'm
with
the
it.
smartest.
EFF.
Oh yes, quickly. I mean, what are we on?
We on an hour almost. But EFF,
okay.
the
I thought it was
the absolute collapse of an idea. I predicted it. This is my
I'm so
proudest
called
moment.
it.
I called it.
A prophet, an oracle.
I knew it was over.
But okay, can we get Julius on the next ep so we can
I would
we can
love
break
to.
down what's gone happen?
Also, Julius is
Special.
fucking back.
This
Julius
is what I'm
Malema is out there talking honestly. He looks comfortable.
But that's what I'm doing.
He's
you
very
say.
relaxed.
But now that because you were like he
he's
needs
accepted.
to leave, but now that the FF's crumbling, there's a comfortability
Exactly.
of going back to my armchair theorist narrative.
Exactly.
He's going to pivot.
And I
As
love it. I love
you
him
said
in
he
this place.
should.
He's suddenly becoming a political theorist again,
See
right?
you
Like
on the
it's.
next ep.
Let me see what I can do.
Julius.
Let me see what I can do.
I think it's a wonderful turn. I think this turn of like giving up on politics for Julius, I can see it happening already. The Dalimbofu thing, quarter off his back. He was
Because one
like,
thing
I
about
expected
a
it
fucking
doesn't matter.
biracial is they're gonna embarrass
Yeah, they're gonna
you.
flip on you, and so I also
I feel better that he's gone for the FF.
and then I also watched Dalimbofu's interview post that.
Yeah.
And I think Dalimbofu's still playing the politician. And Julius Malema's like, that's not my friend. He invited me to his daughter's 21st birthday. I didn't show up. I knew he was
Sorry.
going to quit. And there was something lovely about him kind of, again, regaining that sense
That
of
confidence.
humanness. Where it's like, oh yeah, politics aren't my life.
And they never have been.
Exactly. That I might have convinced myself that my strife was about
And his anger
black
and his empathy
majority.
was exploited by politics.
Exactly.
But it's
and
not
suddenly
for
he's
him.
realizing that. He's suddenly realizing that, oh yeah, there are no friends in politics. That my black agenda
He's just
isn't
like me
total.
for real,
It's
but
going
in
to be
advertising.
a label that's going to take him a very long time to shake off.
Yeah. It's going to take some time. but
Politician. He'll be fine.
I think,
I mean, he might
I
be
think he
fine,
has
but
a
at
hard
the
time. I think he's going to have a hard time trying to commit to the idea that he has not failed. And
I
he
don't think
has.
so. I don't think so.
I think Julius Malema, if you look at what he said he wanted to do, Julius Malema less than 8 months ago was saying, I'm in charge here.
But
I am the president.
Okay, not to compare like a very brilliant man with someone who's just like a superstar.
Yeah.
But he's in a similar kind of performance sphere, I feel, as Trump, which is like he moves with the times. He's an adaptable hun.
And that's what I love
I have
about
to
him.
respect that.
That's what I
That's
love.
why
He's
I
not
don't think
bonded.
he
For different
holds-
reasons.
I don't think he
Yeah.
holds a lot of shame. And I think the reason he's so brilliant and imaginative is that he can let go of ideas that haven't worked.
And also as
Come
we
on the
attach as
pod.
we attach people to power, I think we forget that Julius Malema is a far away from where he started.
Exactly.
He cannot hold
Dog,
shame.
he's
that
fucking
he can
brilliant.
sit and be super proud of like moving an idea
And he
towards a certain
still can
point.
be the most hated man in the room
Yeah.
in certain spaces in this country.
And even if he isn't the most influential, I feel like Julius has forwarded some really critical
I
ideas into our
love
culture.
him.
And
But you were just saying that he thinks that he's failed.
and that's but I think he has, right? According to what he aspired to, according to what he wanted.
but I don't think he's attached
But,
to
but,
that
but I don't
failure.
think he's attached. I think he can sit back and go like, oh man, I've made an I would you'd have a hard time, white, black, whoever you are, saying Julius Malema hasn't added into the cultural milieu of what South Africa
But like you
looks and
said,
feels
doubt.
like
like.
what
Without
you
a
said
doubt.
about
No doubt.
Pussy on the last episode, which is like we need public failures.
Exactly.
I think I don't perceive Malema as a public failure. He's a public success because regardless of the failures.
Yeah. He's a monumental moment in our cultural experience.
And he's fucking brilliant.
He's
There are
brilliant.
just geniuses that exist in
Yeah.
this world. You know, some of them look like Trump, some of them look like Malema.
And sometimes your moment doesn't meet the time, right?
No.
Like
And
you-
he's
you-
very
you- you-
futuristic.
exactly.
The same as Mbuyiseni. I'm sorry, they're too future.
And I think that's heartbreaking, right? Because
Fair.
you die with the hope of something that might have happened that never happened. And I think that is heartbreaking.
I mean, that
because-
happens to thousands every generation.
Exactly. And so I don't think there's nothing actually in hindsight after having that conversation the last time, there's nothing Julius needs to be embarrassed about.
No, exactly.
What an honorable
I'm so glad
idea.
I could change your mind.
Yeah, what an honorable idea. What an honorable sort of like gesture into the world that he's offered
I
up.
love him.
And I can appreciate that deeply, actually. I can appreciate what is added. I can appreciate what he was fighting for. I can appreciate what the idea was, even when the idea doesn't work. And knowing them as that, right? Like ideas people, geniuses.
Yeah,
people that are like,
he's
maybe the
brilliant.
world can work like this,
Yeah.
and maybe I can affect it, and I can move
He
it
is
towards
a modern
that.
day philosopher. That's what like the study, like the whole concept of philosophy
Yeah.
is like coming up with these new ways of living. And I think he is a philosopher.
Yeah.
a
So
modern
even
day
as it
philosopher.
collapses, I'm
Yeah.
like, actually, it's okay.
No, he's that cool.
It's absolutely
He's
okay.
that fine.
It's like how many of us are willing to put our lives on the line in that way and then kind of offer up and obviously to great benefit to him as
And
well.
it's been
It's
years
not
of
so selfless, but
abuse and vitriol.
yeah.
From white to black to men to women to the gays to the straights.
Exactly. But to
And
put
he's like,
yourself on
"I'm
the
here
line,
every
to put
time."
yourself on the line to be
Stunning.
available to that is pretty brilliant. And I
Not
think is
a failed millennial.
yeah, not a failed millennial at all.
A millennial we can all aspire to
Yeah.
kind of model ourselves on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think an important social idea, and I think politics are that, right? Like, you kind of in your convictions name people things that perhaps are just political. That you kind of see their failures or their ideas or the value of who they are through a political lens. But once you step back, you kind of like, man, that's a human being that's making an attempt or leap towards an idea that's very difficult in a place that's very difficult. And I think it's hard to just criticize that. We're allowed to, but it's hard to just criticize that without giving any credit to the idea.
And we're such haters. I think he's like kind of one of the people we don't have to hate on.
Exactly. Someone you can kind of be like, oh,
But also
thank
just
God you are alive.
80% of his like feedback is like hatred.
Exactly. So yeah,
Shout
that's
out
a
to
turn.
him.
I'm like, shout out to that.
Can I ask
it's
you a
like it's
question?
collapsing. Yes.
Why is Dalian Mpofu like the way he is?
So I think Dalimbofu is of the same like ilk as Nelson Mandela, as Orar Tambo, as all of those
Are you being
characters.
for real?
Yeah, for real. These are like pipe smoking, Scottish educated types that are they're above us. They're economically above us. They are socially
but
above
the
us.
people you're referencing hold a certain stature.
I think in hindsight they hold a certain stature, and I think when Dalim Mpofu dies, people will be
You're
like,
lying to
"What
me."
a Keda, he fought for black
No,
people."
don't
Not on that
lie.
level, not on that
Don't
level.
say
No,
that.
not on the same level, because I think we're in a different time. But I think
But
there's no
does
difference.
he hold that much like respect? Do you think among
100%.
people?
Dalim Mpofu is
Am I-
litigating for
am I
Jacob Zuma.
stupid?
He's-
Am I the problem?
I don't think you're the problem. I think that,
MK was a crazy move to me.
and I think Dalim Mpofu has a deep hand in what the MK is. I think
Fuck,
Dalim
dog.
Mpofu is a very important voice in like critically thinking about a black left in South Africa today. I think Dalim Mpofu is. Yeah, he's one of those people you cannot erase, right? Like, and
Is that why he irritates me?
and he's a lawyer.
Like,
Exactly. That's what.
Get away.
Exactly.
Like, you're annoying me.
You know, like this
Fly.
history, it's almost like identical to those people. He's a lawyer, he's a public litigator, you know, so he's this voice that's continuously
Used to
there.
rap with AKA.
But
never get over
does
that.
Zuma value that?
I think so.
Doesn't
I
matter,
think-
but it doesn't matter what
But-
Jacob
but-
Zuma
but-
wants,
but-
right?
but
Oh, am
I-
I wrong? He's not.
I think
it's
we're
like a
wrong about
fallacy.
that.
He's like a puppet, right?
I don't know. This is what's interesting.
Very
I
interesting.
don't know.
It's very
I don't know
interesting.
what Jacob Zuma is, but I don't think he's not aware of the public conversations. I don't think Jacob Zuma is not aware of the popular understanding of what everyday South Africans feel. For some reason, he's some like oracle.
He's the girl he thinks he is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like,
He's
but
really-
people listen to Zuma,
The Riz, baby.
and they become a
The
part of
Riz
his world,
machine.
and they buy in completely. And I don't know what that is, but I think he's a core idea in South African history, and we might not even have seen the most important moment of Jacob Zuma yet.
Wow.
I feel like when I was in matric, when I was watching this like documentary, and I think I've said this on the pod before even, but like the Jacob Zuma I saw in the media versus this like very young, excited, incredible like fighter, like freedom fighter, who's two totally different people. And I was like, this man's playing himself
He's playing
down.
dumb, and I feel like
that's-
he is some kind of an oracle because
Yeah, he's
because these
brilliant.
politicians
Yeah.
listen to him.
Yeah.
He's assembled some of the best South
I mean,
African
he was the
minds
head of
in-
intelligence.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's what I'm
then-
saying. He's
Come
assembled.
on.
He's assembled
He
some of the
understands
best
psychology.
minds. The MK is not an accidental party. They not.
Didn't they train in Russia? Now we're talking
He
about.
trained in Russia. He's good friends with people around the world. Like Jacob Zuma is not like small fry.
I know he's got mad charisma.
Yeah.
Like I know, like after the big political debates and the tweets and stuff, when him and Helen Zille were at like a dinner or something, they had the best time together.
course.
I mean,
And
because
I
she
think
also
if he
doesn't
walks
care
into
about
a
the
room-
people. So
Okay.
I said she also doesn't care about the
Exactly.
people. So that's what they have in
And
common.
neither does
So
he.
it
Yeah,
connects.
exactly. Good one.
And I think, yeah, I don't know what his power is, but there's a great power. Maybe Jacob Zuma's Diddy. Maybe he has that Diddy power in people. Maybe he's seen a lot of
I
people
feel like he's saying
naked.
that about most public figures these
I feel
days.
like
They
everybody-
all
It's your
did
go-to.
it.
Yeah, I
They
mean, like,
all,
everyone's Diddy.
everyone was at the Diddy
I feel like
party.
everyone diddies each other. Everyone records each other naked, having
I like that
wild
you turned it
sex.
into a verb. It's good. It's very good.
So I think he has like a Diddy power. I think he has a kind of quiet, like an intelligence is that vibe, right? Like he has a kind
Totally.
of quiet
It's giving
power
like
over people.
Russian spy, psyop type situation.
Yeah, and heavily
Damn.
embedded.
Come on, MK.
Everyone is signing up, and you're wondering, you're like, why is everyone signing up? Dalim Mpofu was asked, they read him a statement he said about Zuma. He said Zuma is the worst people. He's tortured 5 million people. They're like, why are you signing up for this? He's like, yeah, that's politics.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
South Africa's a
J.D.
joke.
Vance said that Trump is
Yeah, they
is
also did the same
Hitler.
thing to JD Vance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that, like, not that long
same
ago.
question.
Yeah.
They asked Dalim Mpofu.
Yeah.
He actually mentions
That's
JD
a
Vance in
crazy.
his answer. Yeah.
Don't
Of course.
lie.
I swear,
course.
it's the
That's
most
a
hard. It's the
crazy
hardest
analogy.
crossover. The hardest crossover.
JD Vance and Daniel Poofu.
Yeah.
Exactly the same person.
Do you think
that
they
makes
would think
sense.
I'm pretty?
I think both of them will love
No
you.
doubt. No doubt.
I think both of them will love you. They'll love you.
On that note,
That's the white bread podcast. It's very Trump heavy white bread podcast.
sorry, but,
But
it's
I
just
mean,
we needed
that's what
it to get
happened.
it
It
off
is
our
what it
chest.
is. Yeah.
Okay, so I just one more. I know I'm wrapping it up, but
Oh.
I had a conversation like on the announcement when it was like officiated that he was going to be president. I was speaking to the Uber driver about it, and he was like, "I was like, yo, Trump's president." He's like, "Yeah," and then the Uber driver was like, "No, but I think it's a good thing." So I was like, "Oh, a foreign national man, black man." African migrant, if you will. I'm joking. And he was just like, I was like, okay, the one positive thing that could potentially come out of this is like maybe there's like a less money sent over to Israel and into the Middle East. And he's like, yeah, totally. I'm really praying and hoping that Trump was just lying to Israel this whole time. Do you think that's a possibility?
Man, I think the Palestinians are in trouble.
They're done.
I think the Palestinians, and not because of Trump. I think the Palestinians are just in trouble. I think it's modern day colonialism, and the Palestinians are gonna have to deal with a new history. And
What do you
and a
think
painful
Putin
one.
thinks about Palestine?
I think it
He
doesn't matter.
care.
It doesn't matter.
He loves the chaos.
Yeah.
He loves the chaos.
I think it doesn't matter. I think he likes that, the kind of
His boyfriend's
American
back.
Israeli idea is being marred by this conflict, but I don't think it matters more than that. I don't think colonialism ever mattered to niggas.
They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't think anyone gives a fuck. I think you get colonized and then you're
then
sad
that's
about
it.
it. And then there's a new version of you who's like,
It's a democracy.
one day we were colonized and I'm fighting back for the land. And then you're stuck in some weird conversation for like years and years.
On the White Bread
And you
podcast.
never get the land back. You never get, there's no resolve. No one comes. You never get justice. Your family's dead. It's like, that's what it is.
What are you grateful for that happened in the last week, guys?
Wow, that was a very sharp left turn.
Yeah, that was a sharp. But that's
need
what
to
it
bring
is.
the
It's
black left
fucking
back.
devastating.
Come on.
There is no
Yeah.
black left
I know.
anymore. It's
Try to keep it cute, guys.
As soon as I was like, families are dead. You're like, what are you grateful for?
It's just generating so much chaos, and that's a part of the playbook.
Yeah.
Because when there's so much chaos, when the systems start to fall apart, then the oligarchs show up, the plutocrats show up, and they say, okay, let's fix the system and charge people for the solutions.
Yeah, and
That's it.
all
That's
you
what's
end up
happening.
doing is making good art.
But this is what I'm saying.
You
There's
have
a
a
vacuum
generation
for
of
that.
amazing art.
Yeah.
You have a generation of great music.
Can I see it? I'd
And
like to
that's-
see it.
that's it,
Can we
dude.
start doing that?
Yeah, the
Coming up.
Palestinians are gonna cook, dude. They're gonna cook. They're gonna have some of the greatest art we've ever seen because pain and trauma is what we love
I
to
think
buy
we need to
on our
edit this
walls.
last part out.
Put it
It's
on
about
your wall.
I mean, I
Palestine.
understand the root of the thought. I mean, it's awful, but,
But
I
this is
understand
the
the root of the
difference
thought.
when it comes to war between men and women. I don't mean to gender it. And I think this is the conversation around faith versus hope. But like to me, all of those things are true. But then the other parts, like the opposite of that is also always true.
100%.
So that's why, what were you guys
I'm not-
grateful for this week? Come on, lay it on me. Some positivity.
Animal,
I want to
animus,
kill
I get it.
myself. Come on.
Okay, turn the dial back.
Turn it back.
As a
You start.
woman.
I always start.
Fuck,
You
what
start.
am I grateful for?
Come on.
I was very productive in the last couple of weeks in like
Flex on him,
a
Zor.
real way. I was avoiding eye contact.
Flex on him.
Yeah,
listen.
I'm listening.
Rude. Very. What did I just say?
You said you were very productive.
Oh,
Okay.
good one.
Okay. Very good.
I'm not lost on this.
Damn,
What are you
I'm
guys
You're a
talking about?
prison
Multitasker.
father.
Prison
If you
dad,
were
dude.
ever to have a
Black
child.
Dad.
He's even got his own theme song.
Dad.
I love it.
Wow, dude. I'm in. Let's ride it. Let's go.
Well, share the news.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I wrote a lot in the last 2 weeks. I wrote like 8 out of the last 10 days, 10 working days.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank
I've
you.
never done
That's
that before in
painful,
my
yeah.
entire life.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's
8 out of 10 working days
coming
is
out
a
of you.
crazy run.
yeah. It's. I need to clear the bandwidth, dude. I need to
Make space for other things.
make space, and there's just not enough room up there. It's getting a bit
Yeah.
crowded, so I'm just trying to clear the bandwidth, and it's working.
Yeah.
It's working. Expect a draft before the end of the year.
That's great.
Love
That's
it
wonderful.
for
I
you.
mean,
That's
I'm
very
grateful for it,
wonderful,
and
yeah.
humble
proud.
brag, whatever.
Pretty
Thank
proud.
you, thank you. I feel it.
I've been taking photographs.
Yeah, I saw.
Yes.
I like seeing again. That was just like, that was the job. It was just like, go out and see people and know that this isn't the culture. This isn't the cultural perspective that exists in majority here. And that was so fulfilling.
Nice.
That was so fulfilling. Met a lot of people, hung out, was in weird places, drove around a little bit. I was in Joburg for a while. So like drove around on the outskirts, went home, saw my mother.
Stunning.
That was lovely. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in a space where I'm very happy. New love.
Stunning.
That's always nice. That always feels good. Hopefully it's the last time.
Oh my God.
I'm sick.
Yo.
I'm sick
Yo.
of these new people. I can't meet a new person again.
But
I can't meet a new person again, dude. Locked in.
Tired.
I'm sick. I'm fucking sick. But yeah, it's been lovely. It's been good energy. I've been getting out of Cape Town as much as I can, driving far, far away. Probably will do it this Saturday, tomorrow. Go somewhere, look at things. So yeah, I'm grateful for my eyes.
oh, that's nice. I like the way you put that. Speaking of big capital, I'm really grateful for my job. I'm getting to travel next week. And when I was younger, I always wanted to kind of see the world. And I always kind of perceived it as something that I would need to work really hard for and like save my way to be able to like immigrate or go see the world. And I've just been afforded the opportunity to go see other places and spaces just by nature of my work. And that's such a fucking crazy thing.
So
Like I
dope.
never
Yeah.
imagined for myself. So that's really cool. So I'm traveling on Sunday. So I'm really excited about that. And then Shai and I have found this like really cool new artist. They're really good. They're called, sorry, I need to find it on my phone. I believe it is. I'm singing the song. Jamison, JMSN. It's like this like kind of dance, R&B coded like vocalist. He sounds like a not irritating version of like Daniel Bedingfield.
Yeah.
It's like this really fun like dance clubby music. So I've been listening to that a lot and like really enjoying just like dancing around. That's what I'm
lovely.
grateful. A nice new song and going to see a new place in the world.
Gonna go see some elephants and some lions. The real African experience. The mambo jumbo, as they call it.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for listening to that.
Now you can dance to the theme song.
Mambo jumbo.
Thanks. We'll see you next time with
Isn't
Julius
it crazy that
Malema.
people did that? They took an actual
End it here,
language
Mike.
and they called it
End
mambo
it
jumbo.
here, Mike. That was crazy.
Hello and goodbye and someone